So there's been another assassination attempt. The last one was back in July. I want to say it's 2 months ago. July, August, September. September 15th, 2024. Today is the day after. And this one was a possible assassination attempt. They said that they saw the gun pointing out of the bushes. And the Secret Service are the ones that fired. Pop, 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 pop. And the Secret Service was many holes in front of Trump. And then the guy takes off. And the guy's name, Ryan Routh. Ryan Routh. This happens in Florida at a golf course. It's another white male. I hear he's a Republican. First you got Thomas Crooks, now Ryan Routh. Ryan Routh, Ruth, R-O-U-T-H, didn't get to shoot any bullets. Ryan Routh, I saw a video where he was defending the defense of Ukraine against naked Russian aggression. And I hated the Iraq War. I hated the Iraq War. So if you're for the Iraq War, if you're a neocon piece of shit and you're against the Ukraine war, you are such a piece of shit. You're supposed to stand up for your neighbor. You're supposed to treat your neighbor as you would treat yourself. Ryan Routh had 2 backpacks full of ceramic tile, an AK-47, and a GoPro. So he could record the whole thing. Ceramic tile, I guess, is bulletproof. More like go amateur. So the Secret Service shot the 4 shots. Ryan Routh didn't get to shoot any. He was there. He was poised. The gun was pointing out of the bushes. But Ryan Routh technically never pulled the trigger. So, an attempted assassination. And then the Secret Service are going to tackle the former president. So really, in a way, nothing happened. Ryan Routh didn't shoot anything. He got set up to do so. And the Secret Service are the ones that are shooting guns. They're the ones that shots fired. And then the Secret Service tackled Donald Trump, which I wonder if there's videotape of any of this. Lincoln said that he was afraid of the enemy in front of him, the Confederates of the South, but also those behind him, the Democrats in the North. Sean Hannity was invited to go to the golf outing, but Sean Hannity is more of a second hole kind of guy. Megyn Kelly's analysis so far this election has been below par. The 24/7 news cycle is a sand trap. Much of this will be forgotten shortly thereafter. Florida crocodile, man. Florida crocodile. See you later, Gator. And a wild crocodile. So Article 2 of the Constitution provides, this is from Trump vs. Trump v. the United States. This is a Supreme Court presidential immunity case. I'm reading verbatim. Article 2 of the Constitution provides that the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. Section 1, Clause 1. The president's duties are of unrivaled gravity and breadth. Trump v. Vance, 2020. They include, for instance, commanding the armed forces of the United States, granting reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, and appointing public ministers and consuls, the justices of this court, and officers of the United States. See Section 2. He also, or she, has important foreign relations responsibilities, making treaties, appointing ambassadors, recognizing foreign governments, meeting foreign leaders, overseeing international diplomacy and intelligence gathering, and managing matters related to terrorism, trade, and immigration. See Section 2. Section 3, domestically, he must take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Section 3, and he bears responsibility for the actions of the many departments and agencies within the executive branch. He also plays a role in lawmaking by recommending to Congress the measures he thinks wise and signing or vetoing the bills Congress passes. See Article 1, Section 7, Clause 2, Article 2, Section 3, no matter the context, the president's authority to act necessarily stems either from an act of Congress or from the Constitution itself, Youngstown. In the latter case, the president's authority is sometimes conclusive and preclusive, Jackson concurring. When the president exercises such authority, he may act even when the measures he takes are incompatible with the expressed or implied will of Congress. Id at 367, the exclusive constitutional authority disables the Congress from acting upon the subject. Id 637 to 638, and the courts have no power to control the president's discretion when he acts pursuant to the powers invested exclusively in him by the Constitution. Marbury 1 Cranch at 166. So let's just say, for shits and giggles, hypothetically speaking, Joe Biden ordered Ryan Wesley, Ralph, and Thomas Crooks to do the hit. Joe Biden tells the CIA and the ATF and the FBI and the Department of Agriculture to do the hit on Donald Trump, mafia style. And so Joe Biden's reasons are that Donald Duck is a threat to national security. He's a threat to national security, so therefore Joe Biden isn't doing this for personal reasons. It's not political, but it's business. This is for official reasons. For official reasons, Joe Biden thinks that Donald's friendship with Putin is going to undermine America's safety. And Joe Biden has to execute the nation's laws, such as enforcing the sentence and punishment of the 34 felonies that Don has been convicted of in New York. So Joe Biden orders the hit on Mafia Don, mafia style. Joe Biden also wanted to show how ridiculous Trump v. U.S. 2024 was, i.e. the presidential immunity decision, because he's going to try to get Congress to pass a law, pass an amendment against it. He wants to show he's got a pat, and also he doesn't have to get the Congress on board. He's going to have to get the American people on board. And also somehow Joe Biden ordered the hit because this has to do with his foreign relations responsibilities, making treaties, appointing ambassadors, recognizing foreign governments, meeting foreign leaders, overseeing international diplomacy and intelligence gathering, managing matters related to terrorism, trade, and immigration. This got to do with terrorism and trade and immigration. This ain't personal. This isn't political. It's business. Joe Biden is just doing this official. This is official business. Official business, all which is within his constitutional purview, all within the outer shell of his constitutional power, both his conclusive and preclusive power, via Youngstown decision, with Jackson concurring. So according to Trump v. U.S., which is going to be a landmark decision, people are going to reference this, that means Joe Biden is protected from criminal prosecution. He's protected from criminal prosecution. You can't arrest him, the prosecutor can't be a dick, nor can the damn judge. You won't have the fucking clerk being a fucking dick to you. Hey, which way do I go? I'm not allowed to give you legal advice. I've just asked you where to fucking go. Goddamn Quintana. All right, Ann and Michael, chill out. The only way Joe Biden, according to Trump v. U.S. 2024, the Supreme Court decision, the so-called presidential immunity decision, is that Joe Biden would have to get impeached by the House, then convicted by the Senate, and then maybe there's some way the judicial branch can prosecute him criminally. But he's got to get that House impeachment and then the Senate conviction. And without that House impeachment and the Senate conviction, well, the fucking judicial branches can't do a damn thing to Joe Biden. Joe Biden's got immunity to do official business. Here's some more from Trump v. U.S. 2024 SCOTUS decision verbatim. If the president claims authority to act but in fact exercises mere individual will and authority without law, the courts may say so. Youngstown. Jackson concurring. In Youngstown, for instance, we held that President Truman exceeded his constitutional authority when he seized most of the nation's steel mills. But once it is determined that the president acted within the scope of his exclusive authority, his discretion in exercising such authority cannot be subject to further judicial examination. The Constitution, for example, vests the power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States in the president. That's Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1. During and after the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln, old stinking Lincoln, Honest Abe, Grant offered a full pardon with restoration of property rights to anyone who had engaged in the rebellion but agreed to take an oath of allegiance to the Union. That's 1872 United States v. Klein. To the executive alone is entrusted the power of the pardon, and the legislature cannot change the effect of such a pardon any more than the executive can change a law. The president's authority to pardon, in other words, is conclusive and preclusive. Conclusive and preclusive. Disabling the Congress from acting upon the subject. Youngstown, 343 U.S. at 637 to 638, Jackson J. concurring. We thus conclude that the president is absolutely immune from criminal prosecution for conduct within his exclusive sphere of constitutional authority. Let's hear that again. We thus conclude that the president is absolutely immune from criminal prosecution for conduct within his exclusive sphere of constitutional authority. So if Joe Biden has some legitimate excuse that what he was doing was official business, I'm looking up what is preclusive. Preclusive means preventing something from happening, restrictive. So the president has a veto, right? So he's got conclusive power and preclusive power. Donald Trump has done some shit himself. Donald Trump ordered his Secretary of Defense to fire upon Black Lives Matter protesters. Former Defense Secretary Mark Esper, he said no. When the demonstrators were filling in the streets around the White House following the death of George Floyd, Donald Trump said, "Can't you just shoot him? Just shoot him in the leg or something. We have a right to protest in America. We got a right to speak, to peacefully assemble, a right to petition. And if a soldier wants to quarter in our house, and we can tell him to get the fuck out. No excessive bail, no excessive fines, cruel and unusual punishments, you're not allowed to do. We have the right to bear arms, we have the right to freedom of the press, and we have a right to religion, and a right to fair jury trials. Can't you just shoot him? Shoot him in the legs or something." The president was enraged. Mark Esper, the Secretary of Defense, aka the Secretary of War. Donald Trump is pissed off. Look at them protesters protesting and saying that we're supposed to not be fascist, right-wing, totalitarian, police state motherfuckers. He thought that the protests made the country look weak, made us look weak, and us meant him. And he wanted to do something about it. We reached that point in the conversation where he looked, frankly, at the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Mark Milley, and he said, "Can't you just shoot him? Just shoot him in the legs or something." It was a suggestion and a formal question. And we were all just taken aback at that moment as this issue just hung very heavily in the air. Mark Esper never thought any of this would ever happen to him. As a young Army captain in the mid-1990s, Mark Esper said that he saw the office occupied by the Defense Secretary as hallowed ground, a place he hardly dared imagine himself. Yet, there he was, 21 years later, serving as Donald Trump's Secretary of Defense, facing challenges he also never imagined. That moment, in the first week of June 2020, That was to Mark Esper. It was surreal sitting in front of that resolute desk inside the Oval Office with this idea weighing heavily in the air and the president red-faced and complaining loudly about the protest underway in Washington, D.C. Mark Esper enraged Trump by publicly stating in June 2020 that he opposed invoking the Insurrection Act. I don't want to invoke the Insurrection Act. An 1807 law that permits the president to use active duty troops on U.S. soil in order to quell protest against racial injustice. The Insurrection Act, wasn't that January 6th an insurrection? Oh no, it was just a riot. Oh, Donald just incited a riot, that's all he did? Oh, okay. He can incite a riot. Fuck it, who gives a shit, huh? Michael Bender, then with the Wall Street Journal, now with the New York Times, reported last year in his book, Frankly, We Did Win This Election, that Trump repeatedly called for law enforcement to shoot protesters during heated meetings inside the Oval Office. Let's keep on reading Trump v. U.S. Let's read some more Trump v. U.S. Again, this is verbatim. Verbatim. The framers sought to encourage energetic, vigorous, decisive, and speedy execution of the laws by placing in the hands of a single constitutionally indispensable individual the ultimate authority that, in respect to the other branches, the Constitution divides among many. Clinton v. Jones, 1997, Breyer, concurring in judgment. They deemed an energetic executive essential to the protection of the community against foreign attacks. Hey, we just want Joe Biden to get some energy. We want an energetic executive to get the job done. He's got official business. That guy out there, 34 felonies. He's stirring up a bunch of shit. He's friends with Putin. He's going to destabilize the entire international system. Just because of his ego. He's not going to get us universal health care. He's not going to build homes for the houseless. He's not going to get us instant runoff voting, nor is he going to get us universal basic income. A war on poverty. Why would we have a war on poverty? You need the damn poors to sweep the buildings and cook the food. We got to maintain this capitalistic system that has enriched me, Donald Jennifer Trump, so long. The steady administration of the laws, the protection of property, and the security of liberty. So Joe Biden, we need an energetic, steady, so he needs, okay. This is quoting Federalist number 70, Alexander Hamilton. The purpose of a vigorous and energetic executive, they thought, was to ensure good government. For a feeble executive implies a feeble execution of the government. In Nixon v. Fitzgerald, for instance, we recognize that as a functionally mandated incident of his unique office, a former president is entitled to absolute immunity from damages liability predicated on his official acts. We therefore concluded that the president must be absolutely immune from damages liability for acts within the outer perimeter of his official responsibility. Fitzgerald, 457 U.S. at 756. Donald Trump, there is, Stephen Miller. He says it's going to be easy to mass deport immigrants. All Donald Trump has to do is to go to the red state governors and say, give me your National Guard. Once the governors say okay, then they'll just take the National Guard and then deport the immigrants. But you might have your blue governors who won't give up the National Guard. Hell, they might use the National Guard to fight against the other state's National Guard. Well, now we got a civil fucking war. And he can't get in trouble for that. So the presidents can't get in trouble for Watergate. Presidents can't get in trouble for the Trail of Tears or slavery or genocide. Any goddamn crime that they come up with, they can't get in trouble for drone striking a little kid in Yemen. They can't get in trouble for dropping a nuclear bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. They can't get in trouble for starting fucking wars with foreign nations. Why the fuck not? You have people that get in trouble just for fucking jaywalking. Tupac got in trouble for jaywalking. You got a bunch of poor people. That one homeless guy in California got in trouble for just existing. Two punk-ass cops started questioning him and then whoops, we just killed a homeless guy. What'd Sonia Massey have? A pot of water? By contrast, when prosecutors have sought evidence from the president, we have consistently rejected presidential claims of absolute immunity. For instance, during the treason trial, former Vice President Aaron Burr, Chief Justice Marshall, rejected President Thomas Jefferson's claim that the president cannot be subjected to a subpoena. Marshall reasoned that the law does not discriminate between the president and a private citizen, U.S. v. Burr, 1807, Burr I. Because a president does not stand exempt from the general provisions of the Constitution, including the Sixth Amendment's guarantee that those accused shall have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses for the defense, a subpoena could issue. Similarly, when a subpoena issued to President Nixon to produce certain tape recordings and documents relating to his conversations with aides and advisors, this court rejected his claim of absolute privilege, given the constitutional duty of the judicial branch to do justice in criminal prosecutions. That's U.S. v. Nixon, 1974. But we simultaneously recognize the public interest in candid, objective, and even blunt or harsh opinions in presidential decision-making, as well as the need to protect communications between high government officials and those who advise and assist them in the performance of their manifold duties. Because the president's need for complete candor and objectivity from advisors calls for great deference from the courts, we held that a presumptive privilege protects presidential communications. That privilege, we explained, relates to the effective discharge of a president's powers. The threat of a trial, judgment, and imprisonment is a far greater deterrent. Potential criminal liability and the peculiar public opprobrium that's attached to criminal proceedings are plainly more likely to distort presidential decision-making than the potential payment of civil damages. Opprobrium. The meaning of opprobrium is harsh criticism, censure, disgrace, or reproach. So freedom is the rule, not the exception. I love freedom. Oh my God, do I love me some freedom. But many times I hear the opposition, some asshole, I'll read that freedom isn't absolute. And oh, that gets under my skin. That gets under my craw. And I hate it. But in some respects, yeah, I guess that's right. Freedom isn't absolute. Hobbes says that. Natural law says that freedom is absolute when it comes to life, liberty, and property. John Locke says the same thing. When it comes to life, liberty, and property, I have the right to stand up for my life and my liberty and my property. That's the rule. That comes from God. But let's say you drop a penny. You're walking down the street. You're walking down Fifth Avenue, going to go to Tiffany's, and you drop a penny. It falls out of your pocket. You got a hole in your pocket, and a little tiny, shiny copper penny falls out of your pants pocket. And before you realize it, it's already hit the sidewalk, and then it hit on its side, so it starts to roll down the street, and it rolls a mile down the street. And a homeless kid, not knowing that it was your penny, picks the penny up, and then puts it in his pocket, and he runs away with your penny. That's your property. Even though Hobbes and Locke is saying that freedom is absolute when it comes to life, liberty, and property, I don't think you're allowed to take an AK-47 and just start spraying the crowd, just do a mass murder, a mass massacre. I don't believe over a single copper penny that fell down, that's finders keepers. You can't just massacre 40 Palestinians, blow up their hospitals, blow up their schools for the fuck of it. You can't just do that for funsies. So the way I would say it is that life, liberty, and property, you do have a right to life and liberty and property. And that's a total and complete right. It's not absolute. There's always an exception to the rule. And since there's always an exception to the rule, the same is true with power. The rule is that the president has power over the military, and he's allowed to do his official business. But he can't SEAL Team 6's political opponents. Yeah, the president's power is immense. It's total and complete, but he doesn't have absolute power. There's an exception to the rule. There's an exception to every rule. For good or ill, the government sets the example, and our government is the potent, omnipresent teacher. As Brandeis in the Olmsted Descent said, in a government of laws, existence of the government will be imperiled if it fails to observe the law scrupulously. Our government is the potent, the omnipresent teacher. For good or ill, it teaches the whole people by its example. Crime is contagious. If the government becomes a lawbreaker, it breeds contempt for the law. It invites every man to become a law unto himself. It invites anarchy. To declare that in the administration of the criminal law, the end justifies the means. To declare that the government may commit crimes in order to secure the conviction of a private criminal would bring terrible retribution. Against that pernicious doctrine, this court should resolutely set its face. For good or ill, our government is the potent, omnipresent teacher, and it teaches the people by his example. And crime is contagious. If you're going to allow presidents to get away with crime, because if the judicial branch isn't convicting them, that means no police officers, no clerks, no prosecutors, no judges, not even the damn mayor or city council, not even the dog catcher. And all them assholes are going to say they have immunity. Why'd you just kick that old man down the steps, dog catcher man? I'm immune. Hey, I was just in the service of doing my official duties. I was chasing the dog and he got in my way and I said, "Get the hell out of here, old man." And I pushed the old man in a wheelchair down the damn steps because I was chasing after that stray dog. He's doing his official business. Don't you have absolute power when you're doing your official business? Fuck that shit. The Rex is not Lex. The king is not the law. The Lex is Rex. The law is king. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. We're supposed to be a government of laws, not men, says Thomas Paine. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Federalist Paper number 69, the president and government will only control the militia when a part of them is in the actual service of the federal government. Else, they are independent and not under the command of the president or the government. The states would control the militia only when called out into the service of the state, and then the governor would be commander-in-chief, were enumerated in the respective state constitution. Were enumerated in the respective state constitution. We might have to do rainbow militias. We might have to do some rainbow militias before this thing. Remember the 5th of November. Free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine.